please welcome firstly to the cage from Lithuania, Arturas Kudresovas.
Believe you gon' know me when I'm this close. See you expose this phony. Come on, bitch, show me. Pick me up, throw me. Lift me up, hold me. Just like you told me you was gonna do. That's what I thought you people. Me, all you, time to get I ain't gonna eat, I ain't gonna sleep.
Opening up our main card here at FNC 19. A light heavyweight matchup. Pitching this man, Arturas Kudresovas, 30 years of age. He's 3-0 in MMA and taking his FNC first pill tonight, his debut. Kudresovas fights out of Kaunas, Lithuania. Undefeated in pro MMA. Likes to stand up. Most of his work is done on his feet. Fast starter. Got 2 first-round KOs on his record. That'll put him in good stead, given the record we've had tonight with our 2 preliminary bouts. His third victory is via guillotine choke. That always proves a good deterrent from takedowns and makes him tough, hard to finish. Likes a good knockaround, doesn't let a bit of blood stop him from doing his work. He was the Lithuanian grappling and judo champion. As a judoka, he carries a black belt. Doesn't hesitate to go to brawl and likes to ground and pound once he gets his opponent there.
Very highly motivated, very focused talent. I think his credentials are very legit here, Will. So undefeated, this guy was a huge signing for FNC in my view. Let's see if he can deliver.
Arturas Kudresovas. And now please welcome to the cage in the red corner from Cuba,
Andres Ramos, 4-0 MMA, 4-0 FNC. Hails from Cuba, but trains out of Ljubljana, Slovenia. 29-year-old has a strong Cuban wrestling style and great physical presence. Holds his opponents down with ease. A very athletic light heavyweight. Keeps busy with strikes on the top. Manages to squeeze in some nice submissions. Decent boxing, but explosive power. That heavy wrestling background from the Cuban school. Originally from Cuba, came to Italy and then to Slovenia. And believe it or not, he lives and works today in Ljubljana in a hardware store. Went through training camp at Trojan Free Fighters in Pula and MMA Kopa in Slovenia. 4-fight winning streak. Won his last fight, but mostly on control of his grounded opponents. And although he won, didn't bring about a lot of damage, but he can hurt in the upright and on the ground.
It was a very different test last time, and that was kind of one of the things we wanted to see. Would we get him tired? Would we find him in some adversity? And yes, the answer was yes. We saw it last time against Robbie Kennedy. I think that was an important learning experience, and tonight it'll be intriguing to see what Kudresovas brings to try to test this guy, because he for sure is a specimen, and there's a real high ceiling, I have a feeling, for him.
And And this MMA rules bout takes place in the minus 93 kilogram light heavyweight division, and this bout will be contested over 3 5-minute rounds. Your referee in charge when the action gets underway, Ilya Lucic. Introducing to you firstly in the blue corner. 30 years of age, he stands at 181 centimeters tall. He brings a perfect record of 3 fights with 3 wins. He's representing Fighter House from Lithuania. Please welcome Arturas Kudresovas! And on the other side of the cage, fighting out of the red corner, he's aged 29. He stands at 187 centimeters tall. His record also a perfect one with 4 fights, 4 wins. Representing Trojan Free Fighters in Pula by way of Cuba. Please welcome Ramos! And both fighters to the center, please, for your final instructions.
Gentlemen, you know the rules. Fight clean, listen to my commands at all times, keep yourself protected. Touch gloves, step back.
Light heavyweight, under 93 kilograms, scheduled for 3 FNC MMA rounds. Those are the numbers up on screen for you. Very little between them. They've both got &0 records. Maybe a couple of kilos, maybe a couple of centimeters height and range. But these are 2 very, very athletic specimens at light heavyweight. And they're both very, very motivated here. Highly motivated. No one wants to go away with, but someone must, with that minus on their record. So, fighting southpaw, Kudresovas takes on the Cuban, Ramos. I think this is a tough test for both fighters. They've both got the physical capability to get the job done before time, but it's all about skill sets and skill levels. And up until now, I think Ramos has displayed over his 4 that he's incredibly creative. The athleticism speaks for itself, but he's got good hands, and I think on the ground can handle himself. However, Kudresovas, with that grappling and judo background, might be causing an upset here. Very tentative opening, very respectful, and you can imagine at the weight these guys can hurt with a shot. And there you go, the right hand goes straight in through the middle, and well, Ramos, there's his opening gambit. He's opened up his stall, aggressive here. The takedown, he passes, being held in that guillotine though, and Kudresovas will have a handful to try and control Ramos in that position. Ramos just using his power to leverage, trying to get out of that half guard, pushes his way out, tries for side control. Good work by Kudresovas in holding him there, and he's still got that guillotine on. So the head choke on, will it cause Ramos a problem? I don't know. Kudresovas having to work the other hand through to get grips. Didn't quite work out for Ramos, but a very aggressive start, and as I said right from the beginning, very motivated. Well, here the ground game begins. I don't think either of them wanted it that quickly, but it was forced onto Ramos, but now goes to work. Comes from old school Cuban wrestling. Holding closed guard. Ramos pushes forward, manages to cause a little bit of damage in the ground and pound. I think we could have an opportunity for Ramos to go inside the clock here. Definitely with that 4-0, he's highly motivated coming in. So, being spoiled by Kudresovas, being held in that position, and that's stopping the work, but cross face, a little bit of difficulty, and Ramos making Kudresovas work for his supper here tonight. If he creates space, you just get the feeling that it's impending doom if he can get the hands to work.
It looks like Ramos is really on a mission to slow this fight down. Kudresovas, yeah, the guillotine was an alright attempt, but the exchange of right hands makes it risky for either fighter. And for me, for Ramos, he has that wrestling. We saw this in his last fight. He can do this for 3 rounds. He proved it last time, and I feel like that's got to be the strategy against Kudresovas.
Well, I think his strategy is going to be ground and pound here, looking to finish it with strikes. Got the power, wasn't really interested in the wrestling, wants to get his man down, and then from a good position start to bring the heavy hands in. and he's starting to work from this side control now. Maybe not interested in the crucifix. If he can get that left hand into place, I think he'll do it. He's done it. Now will it give him the room for the hands to work? No, he's had to give up position. That was great from Kudresovas. Kudresovas scrambling, making every effort to cause a problem for Ramos. And now in the upright, well, can Ramos do what he wants to do? And that is use the hands and the power on the ground.
It was a nice attempt a couple of times from Kudresovas to try to sit through, to wrestle up, to hit the switch. He tried to pummel for an underhook with his right arm, but just the float, the smother from Ramos, if you want to call it that, the use of his weight is always going to be an uphill battle because of his wrestling background and pedigree, and Kudresovas is just being suffocated right now.
Turns nicely. Ramos, very quick. That was slick. Goes straight down. And for all of Kudresovas' escapology, he ends up in the same position. Clocks against Ramos. But on this top position, using his weight. Can he get a choke on here from the side? Ramos, very, very daring move. Can he get grip? And we're just waiting to see whether Kudresovas can break. No, Ramos is still staying with it. We're 7 seconds. Referee's looking very closely. Unbelievable that Ramos has got this on from the side. And literally, saved by the bell. Well, close moments. I don't know how Ramos absolutely slipped that one in. Chris?
He was definitely close there. I think maybe 20 more seconds he could have worked it in. It was lovely to see him not actually go to the side. And what was most peculiar was Kudresovas tried to buck him up and flip him and actually almost made it worse. I feel like the submission defense just was not quite right. He was kind of on the phone a little bit to block the arm, but ultimately a very dominant round from Ramos with the wrestling.
Well, from the upright, a stunner of a right hand. Kudresovas comes back, but allows the takedown. Ramos working every angle he can, but using that power, the athleticism, and the ground and pound became just a little bit attritional towards the end and allowed for that lock to be put on. Got a grip and really leveraged, and I have to say the head was instrumental in that as well. Well, he's dangerous, Ramos. I thought his work was going to be cut out for him tonight against Kudresovas. Kudresovas, as I said, Lithuanian grappling and judo champion. As a judoka, he has a black belt. But Ramos, we've talked about that old school wrestling and that old style Cuban wrestling that Ramos has brought with him, actually from an early youth training in Cuba. Couple that with the stand-up. Height advantage. I said at the beginning there wasn't a lot in the numbers, but there's a distinct height advantage that Ramos has. He's lowering himself to match Kudresovas. But not rushing in where fools. I was going to say where fools fear to tread, it's angels fear to tread. Just keeping a tentative distance, working on the outside and not allowing Kudresovas to get in on the inside till Ramos is ready.
I think it's really useful that Kudresovas is breathing hard for Ramos, and by that I mean where he was always going to be dangerous was in those first few exchanges. And for sure, we saw both guys get tagged with the right hand, a kind of classic open stance conundrum. But at the end of the day, as the clock continues to go and Ramos can decide, okay, now is when I want to engage, right? You see that? He's looking for the single. He's going to keep kind of breeding a little bit of indecision for Kudresovas, and that's fatiguing. It's going to get him more tired, and that's got to be the strategy. That was the game plan for me, and it's working.
Ramos backing up, allowing Kudresovas the space, and that was the reason why. Coming to my parlour, said the spider to the fly, both legs trapped. Kudresovas up on the wire now. Beautiful takedown. You kind of felt that there was a little bit of thespianic behaviour from Ramos, acting as if he was standing off, but just look at the strength, the athleticism. Just drops Kudresovas. Drops him like third grade French. And Kudresovas has to give up his back. Having to defend all the time. This is relentless work from Ramos once he's onto you like Velcro. And Kudresovas struggling, I think, to deal with Ramos once the distance closed.
It's kind of interesting because Kudresovas has won some fights with that guillotine choke, and we saw him attempt it now twice in the last round and in this round against the cage. And the difficulty is against a wrestler who is that kind of posture, you've got to be really confident your wrap is good and that you're going to tap the guy before you commit, because every time now off that, he's had his back taken. The duck under for Ramos, and he'll just ride you here all day. There's very little opportunity for Kudresovas to do any damage here.
But also very little opportunity for Ramos unless he takes his man down, which he's just done beautifully for him to advantage himself. Now the fun begins. The game's afoot. Ramos knows what he's doing and very skillful, playing 2, maybe 3 moves ahead. Good strategy, able to execute, and all the time expending so much energy. Kudresovas just in surviving here, and he is in survival mode, and I don't know whether he's got a rabbit in the hat against Ramos. Ramos has got this nailed down. I mean, he's stuck to him so close you couldn't put daylight there. Working the knees, really roughing up Kudresovas. There's power there, and that's got to hurt. Ramos now using his weight, applying like for like. Good position for Ramos, but it's also a good defensive position for Kudresovas if he can make the wire work for him. It was a lovely little slip out, a little turn, but Ramos is with him all the way.
Yeah, it is kind of intriguing to see how Ramos sort of at times will say, all right, I'm going to throw a few knees, I'm comfortable here. Maybe a punch or two, I'll release my right hand like we're going to see here. But it is a little bit hesitant, it is a little bit cautious, and I think that's one of the things he could have taken from his last performance, was deciding when to do damage as a wrestler. Like, this is always going to be a tough style, especially at this weight class. But you need to do a little bit more than just hang on the guy, lean on the guy, make him bear your weight.
Interesting story for Ramos, that journey from Cuba to Italy and then to Slovenia. Lives in Ljubljana, and anyone that's visited Ljubljana will know what a beautiful city it is. But he's been training and doing his camp here at the Trojan Free Fighters gym in Pula. And funnily enough, at home at the MMA Copa in Slovenia. Top of the bill tonight, Slow Rocky Miran Fabian from Slovenia. Well, this has gone on further than I thought it would. Early round showed promising numbers for Ramos, but it's had to go to number 2. I thought this was going to be a tough matchup for both these guys, and indeed it's our first fight to get out of the second here at FNC 19, but look at that. Unbelievable takedown, beautifully executed. Takes his man's back and then rides him the rest of the round. We've gone to 3, which has surprised me. Chris, did you think it would go this far?
No.
Andres Ramos, 4-0. Arturas Kudresovas, 3-0. If we were to look at the scores, Chris, where would we be?
20.
Definitely Ramos clearly leading, but by how much?
2018.
So he can ride this round out or go for something dramatic. This is where it gets tricky, because Kudresovas will know this. The corner will have said to him, you need to commit, and he does too heavily. Gets taken down so easily by Ramos. Every time Kudresovas has fallen, you can't believe that he's got that history in grappling and judo, being taken down so easily like that.
Yeah, he's also competed in pancration and a few other things. But the thing is, like, he had some creds coming into this, but he's relatively new to pro MMA at 30, right? And so is Ramos for sure. But if you're going to wrestle a guy in the cage where the wrestlers do have some advantages, especially here, you just can't match him. Kudresovas has some big guys he trains with, but he's not training with a guy that can mimic this. and that's the problem. I was going to say maybe a 10-8 round in the last, but he didn't really do a lot, Ramos, so I think it's still 10-9. I've got it 2018.
Kudresovas has not managed to shift Andres Ramos in terms of that Velcro-like grip. He's not letting his opponent loose to operate at all. I think Kudresovas would have liked more of a stand-up face-off, but he's just spent all night defending this relentless, slow, lava-like work from Andres Ramos. And Ramos has got explosive power. Not employed that tonight. That heavy wrestling background, old Cuban school, just grinding his opponent down. Referees asked them to start operating. The crowd calling for a bit more action, but it looks like they're going to get it if Ramos can succeed with that single. Wasn't quite able to make it work. So back to the hard grind that Ramos is bringing to this. But I don't think that's going to be a winning strategy unless he can do something for it. There's the take. And yeah, even against the wire, Kudresovas still looks quite fresh. Still looks like he's got energy there.
Yeah, he went for a ninja choke. It was nice. He's trying things here, but he's just completely suffocated right now. I'm kind of surprised the ref is letting some of these things go. It is a case of the chain wrestling is working. He went high crotch. He went double. He's got the grips. That's the problem. Kudresovas is not addressing the fundamentals here. He's pummeling for an underhook now and then. He's stuffing the head, but the problem is with these wrestlers, once they get their hands together on you and they've got their toes dug into the canvas or they're working up against the fence, there's nothing you can do. And he needs to work on those fundamentals. And he's going to go back, and I'll take that, I'm sure, moving forward.
Well, now we have a turn of events. The possibility of a guillotine. Doesn't stay with it. Starts to work the odd few punches. This is interesting from Ramos. I don't know what he's going to do here. And sweep the legs out to get the back. But beautifully turning his man there.
Kimura trap counter here. It's nice. He's got the wrist to wrist. The double wrist lock. Ramos knows it. Now you can see what Ramos has got to do here. He's got to spin towards that. He could go to the back, but the back is being blocked by the fence right now, and Kudresovas just got to stick with this thing and prevent that back take. There we go. He's going to turn his hips into him here.
Well, has he got the leverage and the space to do it? Gives it up, and there you go. Ramos on the back, working the ground and pound. There's half a minute left in this, and I don't think we're going to see a dramatic finish before the clock from Ramos. He's too strong at this stage, Kudresovas, but he spent all night defending. Tries to roll out of it, but he's only advantaged Ramos again. This time Ramos now in that open guard position, and if he can get space, will ground and pound till the clock.
He's getting desperate. He tried the Granby roll, and there's a lot of things you can do. Even when you had the Kimura, you can almost get his hips underneath and maybe get a sweep. But I cannot explain unless you felt it, the kind of physical suffering that it is to deal with a wrestler like that who can do that for 15 minutes.
Final bell. We've gone 3 rounds the first time tonight. Although the crowd found it just a little bit hard work to watch, it was extremely hard work for the players there, and Ramos brought that grinding attritional game. And Chris, you can tell us right the way through this third round, Ramos's work.
A gift there, that double leg, just a total gift, because it seemed to me that there was a lot of desperation from Kudresovas in that third round. Beautiful double up against the fence, feet there together. You could see Ramos actually bang his hips to the floor, keep his grip nice and tight. You see him actually drop his left shin there onto the thigh. All these little details make it so tough to deal with. And yeah, there's a handshake at the end saying, I know what I need to do better next time. And both guys need to improve for sure. Ramos will take that style, and I'm sure he'll build on that to make it even more exciting and damaging and punishing.
So cage side, you've heard the numbers. Unanimous decision, for Ramos. We'll wait and see what the judges have to say and give you the official verdict. But we think that's not a cake that has been walked by Ramos. It's been a tough night, but he's taken the win convincingly.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of those 3 completed rounds of action, we go to your judges' scorecards where we have a unanimous decision. All 3 judges scoring this contest 30 points to 27 in favor of your winner, Andres!
5-0 for Ramos, takes the win tonight. The Cuban from Ljubljana.
Arturas,
Had a tough night there, but I don't think as tough as Arturas Kudresovas, who's a real tough stuff. Comes to do business, but sambering his way out of the ring. Andres Ramos, convincing victory. Well, great strategy he brought to this, didn't he, Chris?
Yeah, steady strategy, and I think 30-27 is the right score, right? It was all by a close margin. There really wasn't a case for a 10-8 there because it just wasn't enough meaningful offense, in my view, to establish immediate or cumulative impact. But he'll take it, you know, he'll take it and he'll work that base, and they're going to go back and add to the toolbox. That's what this game's all about.
So we're going to have a word with Andres, and we're going to find out what he thought about his performance.
Andres, čestitke, evo 2-1 za Trojan večeras, 5-0 za tebe. U karijeri često se ovdje viđamo i uvijek mi ti daješ intervju jer uvijek pobjeđuješ. Čini se da znaš kako pobijediti. Kako si se danas snašao unutra i kako si vidio ovaj meč?
Ova meč je bila teška, sam bio na početku, ne? Pa sam naredil ta taktika, ki smo dogovorili, Selj, Taso, moj oče, Sena, drugi, Taso, srce reda, moj prijatelji kubanci, y ya todo. Saludo para mi barrio, Santiago de Cuba, Zamorana, en especial Cuba, yo digo, se recomendó por España, o Prospi.
Andres,
Ta zmaga sa Slovenija, que je moj dom, Ovala, seveda de Pula i Hrvačka en general. Esquela, pripravi se, grem po tebi.
dame i gospodo, još jedan veliki pljesak i za sjajni Trojan iz Pule ili za Zelga i za Andresa Ramosa!